We woke up to find Mr. Duncan gone. No sign of him, not even his things. Just a handful of us students, 8 in total, hiking through thick, humid woods, learning about the environment and wildlife. He seemed like the perfect guide for our adventure. The jungle around us was alive, full of strange noises that echoed through the trees, but there was nothing that seemed particularly out of place. But what we didn't know was that we'd end up learning something far darker, something that none of us would ever forget. But there was a strange edge to his voice, subtle unease that I couldn't quite place. We all assumed he'd gone off to explore, or maybe had woken up early to check on the campsite. But after a few minutes of waiting, we began to feel uneasy. It was supposed to be an educational camping trip, simple 3-day excursion into the jungle, led by Mr. Duncan, our history teacher. I don't know, his stuff is here, but he's not. He was responsibly always keeping tabs on all of us. He wouldn't have left without telling someone. I remember hearing birds calling from the jungle as I rolled out of my sleeping bag, stretching my stiff limbs. The first day went exactly as planned. The dense foliage seemed to close in around us as we ventured farther from the campsite, and the further we went, the more isolated we felt. The air was thick with humidity, making every step feel like we were wading through water. The jungle around us, which had been so full of life the night before, now seemed completely still. No birds, no rustling of leaves, just an oppressive silence that felt unnatural. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead. That's when I heard the soft, unmistakable sound of footsteps behind us. We couldn't just sit around, waiting. It's nothing. Just the jungle playing tricks on us. We grabbed our bags, made sure to mark our campsite so we could find it again, and began to hike deeper into the jungle. Mr. Duncan had been the kind of teacher who was always calm and collected, even when the rest of us were goofing off. Asked Daniel, his voice breaking the silence. I stepped forward to pick it up, and as my fingers brushed the fabric, I noticed something else, a faint, almost imperceptible smear of red on the leaves below it. That night, after we'd eaten, we all gathered around the campfire to listen to him tell some stories about explorers. The feeling of being watched only grew stronger. It wasn't just paranoia, it was real. We all froze, every muscle tensed, our breaths shallow in the thick air. We turned and started running, scrambling through the dense underbrush, not daring to look behind us. The feeling of being followed was unbearable, and the jungle, once so alive, now felt suffocating, oppressive, completely gone. His bag, his water bottle, his jacket, all of it was missing, as if he had never been there at all. We never found the thing that was following us either, but the air around us felt charged, heavy with a presence we couldn't explain. Every step was heavier, as though the very earth beneath us was trying to hold us down. I couldn't see anything, but I could hear it moving between the trees. A search party was sent in, but they never found anything. No traces of him, no signs of a struggle, nothing. Whatever it was big, too big to be a bird or small animal. Whatever it was that followed us, it wasn't just an animal. It was something else, something far darker. I could feel it pressing against me, like eyes boring into my back from the trees. Jungles are full of surprises, he said, his eyes flicking to the dark trees surrounding our camp. The silence was unnerving. The jungle seemed to be holding its breath, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. A shape, it was there, standing just beyond the trees, watching us. It was tall, thin, and its eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, like a predator waiting for its prey to falter. And sometimes, the things you find in them aren't what you expect. We all laughed nervously, brushing it off as just another one of Mr. Duncan's stories. But as the fire crackled and the night grew deeper, there was an odd feeling hanging in the air, a feeling that something, somewhere, was watching us. Large, but not from any animal I recognized, just the single, solitary print. The next morning, everything seemed fine. The sun was barely rising, casting soft light through the thick trees, and the rest of the group was slowly waking up. But when I turned around to look for Mr. Duncan, he wasn't there. I asked, glancing around. No one answered at first, but then Emily, who had been the closest to him the night before, spoke up. Panic started to creep in. It wasn't like Mr. Duncan to just wander off without saying anything. We called out his name, but there was no answer. Should we go look for him? It didn't take long before we all agreed the path we were walking on had been clear the day before, but now it seemed to have changed, as if the jungle had already begun to reclaim it. After an hour of walking with no sign of him, I began to feel that same sense of unease I'd felt last night. And then, just as we were starting to question whether we should turn back, we found it. At first, I thought it was just another abandoned trail marker, but as we got closer, I realized what it was. A footprint. I knelt down, trying to make sense of it. I whipped around, but there was nothing there. The jungle was empty. You heard that too, right? Emily asked, her voice trembling. Yeah, I replied. But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't true. Something was following us. We decided to keep moving, pushing deeper into the jungle. But with each step, the air grew heavier, and then we found something worse. A piece of Mr. Duncan's shirt, torn. It was hanging from a branch, caught like a flag on the edge of the jungle path. I stood up quickly, my heart racing. We need to go back, I said, my voice low but urgent. Now. But before anyone could respond, the rustling came again, this time much closer. Something wasn't right. Something was hunting us. We didn't wait for the noise to come closer. I glanced behind once, and that's when I saw the glimmer of movement in the shadows. We reached the campsite, breathless and terrified, only to find that everything was exactly as we'd left it except for one thing. Mr. Duncan's things were gone. We spent the rest of the day searching, but we never found Mr. Duncan. When we finally left the jungle, we were told that Mr. Duncan had been reported missing. Some of us tried to move on, to forget what had happened. But I know what I saw, what I felt in that jungle. He was taken, and whatever took him is still out there, waiting for the next group to wander too deep. I heard the call deep in the jungle, a sound unlike anything I've ever heard before. And that's when it began. Something was following me, something I couldn't escape. Just a group of us students and a couple of teachers heading into the jungle to learn about nature and survival skills. I wasn't thrilled at the idea, but I didn't think anything bad could happen. After all, it was a well-organized trip with experienced guides, and we weren't exactly deep in some forbidden part of the jungle. It was supposed to be a simple camping trip, another school-sponsored weekend getaway. I stuck with my friends, Emily, Jake, and Ryan, mostly staying at the back of the group. But just as I was about to drift off to sleep, I heard something. We were joking around, taking pictures, and having a good time. I lay there in my tent, unable to sleep, trying to convince myself it was just an animal. The others were in high spirits, laughing, talking about the trip so far. But I couldn't shake the sensation that something was off. My mind kept drifting back to that call I'd heard the night before. Was I just paranoid? Or had something been out there, something I wasn't supposed to see? I felt like I was being watched, and every now and then I would glance behind me, half expecting to see something in the shadows. The trees, the dense undergrowth, the sounds of insects and birds, it all felt too quiet, like the jungle was holding its breath, waiting for something. That's when I noticed it, but deep down, I knew it was something more. It wasn't a bird or an animal. This time, it was clear. It was a voice, a low, echoing cry that seemed to ripple through the air, reverberating off the trunks of the trees. My heart skipped a beat. It had a rhythm to it, almost like it was calling out to me, or to someone. I thought I heard something, I muttered, trying to cover up my growing anxiety. My eyes darted around the jungle, scanning the trees, the undergrowth, searching for something, anything that could explain what I was feeling. The group was still by the stream, talking and laughing, completely unaware of the feeling settling over me. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was moving through the trees, just beyond our sight. They didn't seem to hear it. But Emily was watching me now, her brow furrowed. She must have seen the fear on my face. It was tall, unnaturally tall, and it stood completely still, watching us. I would turn around every few minutes, certain that something or someone was behind me. We had a fire going, but it did little to push back the encroaching dark. I could hear the call again, closer this time, almost like it was right outside our camp. It made my stomach turn. But every time, there was nothing. Just the dense jungle, the sounds of our footsteps on the trail, the occasional bird call in the distance. At first, I thought it was one of the guides, but no one else was moving in that direction. I blinked, trying to convince myself it was just a trick of the light. But when I looked again, it was gone. I knew what I saw. It was tall, like the shadow I had seen earlier, but now it was moving toward us. My heart was hammering, and my blood ran cold. I could see its outline clearly in the firelighter, hunched, gangly shape, almost human, but not quite. It wasn't the wind, no. This was deliberate, like something or someone was stalking us, watching. It came from deep within the jungle, somewhere beyond the firelight, distant but somehow loud enough to make the hairs on my neck stand up. The creature moved closer, its glowing eyes fixed on me, unblinking, tracking my every move. It was as if it knew exactly where I was, what I was thinking, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I looked around, expecting to see the others, expecting to hear them following, but the jungle was completely silent. They were gone. It wasn't like any animal call I'd ever heard before. The closest thing I could compare it to was the sound of a wolf. But there was something unnatural about it, something that made my gut twist. Something followed us, watched us, waited for the perfect moment to take us. We packed up as quickly as we could and left the jungle behind, but the silence followed us. The only thing I could still hear was that call, echoing in my mind. His eyes kept darting to the trees, and even Jake, who prided himself on being tough, was shifting nervously on the log. The jungle felt alive, but not in a scary way, more like the sounds and smells were just part of the environment, like it was meant to be experienced. The first day went as planned. We arrived, set up camp, and spent the afternoon hiking and learning about the local flora and fauna. The sounds of the jungle, once so alive now, felt ominous, as though everything was listening, waiting for something to happen. That night, after a campfire dinner and a few ghost stories told by one of the guides, we all settled into our tents. My heart started to pound in my chest. I wasn't sure if anyone else heard it. I glanced around the camp, but everyone seemed to be sleeping soundly. Emily, who was next to me, didn't seem to notice anything out of the ordinary. A call. At first, I thought it was some animal, a bird, maybe, or a monkey, but the sound was different, deeper. I tried to shake it off, thinking I was just imagining things. But then I heard it again, closer this time. The sound repeated, a strange, guttural cry, like something trying to communicate, or maybe something hunting. Still, the sound lingered in my mind, echoing through the stillness of the jungle. The next morning, the feeling didn't go away. I tried to push it aside as we hiked further into the jungle. We stopped for a break by a small stream, the others chatting and resting, but I couldn't focus. I started to feel the weight of the jungle, its oppressive silence pressing in around me, a shadow. It was faint at first, just a movement in the corner of my eye. I turned, but there was nothing there. And then I heard it again, the call. It was faint, barely audible over the sounds of the jungle, but there it was, coming from deeper within the trees, far off, yet somehow too close. I glanced at the others. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice a little too sharp. "Yeah, She shrugged and went back to her conversation, but I couldn't relax. My senses were on high alert now, and then I saw it, a figure. It was standing at the edge of the trees, just outside the reach of the sunlight. My heart was pounding in my chest now, and I felt a chill run through me. Something wasn't right. As the day went on, I couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. But it wasn't just a feeling, it was real. That night, as we set up camp again, I could feel it closing in around us. The jungle was darker now, the shadows deeper. I wasn't the only one who felt it. Ryan, usually the first to crack a joke, was unnervingly quiet. "I don't like this," Ryan finally muttered, his voice low. "There's something out there." We all fell silent. The fire crackled, sending occasional sparks into the night air. And then, there it was, a figure in the darkness, just at the edge of the trees. I opened my mouth to speak, but no sound came out. It wasn't just watching us, it was stalking us. I stood frozen, my breath caught in my throat. Before anyone else could react, I broke. I ran. I don't know how long I ran for, but I didn't stop until I found myself at the edge of the camp, panting and trembling. And so was the creature. We didn't find each other again until morning. No one talked about it. I don't know what it was, but I know it was real. And sometimes, in the dead of night, I can still hear its voice calling from the depths of the jungle, waiting.